Welcome to another edition of the Business and Personal Podcast. And we have a very interesting guest today. We have Sergeant Payden Fultz of the Great Lakes Recruiting Battalion for the U.S. Army. Just celebrated his 10th anniversary yesterday. And we're super excited to have him join us today and cover some great topics. So Sergeant Fultz, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. It's another great day.
Did you enjoy your 10-year anniversary yesterday?
I did once I realized it was finally the day. I was enjoying myself, having a good day, and then all of a sudden I kind of looked down at my phone and I was, wait a minute, the 31st. I know that day. That's the day I joined the Army. So it just kind of all of a sudden clicked like that. It was funny.
Yeah, time flies, man. I'm sure that the 10 years have gone super fast. So why don't you kind of set the table and tell people a little bit about yourself? I know you actually grew up in a smaller town than I did, which I didn't think there were smaller towns than the one I grew up in. But what motivated you to join the Army and just the influence it's had on your life?
Okay, so like you said, I'm from a very, very small town in Michigan, Byron. It's about we always joke that there's more cows than people where I grew up. So it was kind of funny. I was a pretty decent football player coming out of high school. I was an athlete year round, 3 sports, all that, all conference stuff like that. And I ended up going to college for a year and a half. I had a football scholarship up to Northwood University in Midland there. I played football there for a year and I was really good at the football part and not so good at the being a student part. So it takes two. You got to be a student athlete. And I was not very much of a student at the time. So I kind of bummed around for a little bit. Didn't do very well at school. So I decided, you know what, and this was back in 2008, late 2008, early 2009. So, the first economic crash here in Michigan for our older people here. But came home. My mom had lost her job. I was working with my dad at a sheet metal shop. I ended up losing my job. I was working another side job at a bar for like $50 a week. I was bouncing and doing stuff like that in Flint, Michigan. And anybody who knows Flint, Michigan knows that that's not a great job, working the bars there. So luckily for me, my mom kind of had always been putting the bug in my ear. It always been kind of talking in my ear a little bit. What about the military? What about the Army? Yeah, mom. Whatever. Maybe one day. And she just kept at it, and finally one day I was coming home in the morning. It was a Sunday morning. I was coming home and all of a sudden there's a truck in the driveway that I just don't recognize. I have no idea. It was an old Dodge Ram. It's like a 96 Dodge Ram. And I was like, I don't know anybody that drives that truck. And I walk in and I kind of look and I'm like, what in the heck is going on here? And then there's a guy in a uniform sitting at my parents' kitchen table. And I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Am I being drafted? Am I being taken away? Like, what the heck is happening? And it wasn't the case. I sat down with him. My dad was like, look, I know you just got off work, but you're going to sit and you're going to be respectful and you're going to listen. And I did. And luckily, even though I joked with my mom that she kind of ambushed me, it was probably one of the better things that ever could have happened to me. We talked there for about 2 hours. I started the process with him, and about 2 weeks later, I had signed up for the Army. So I kind of went from, not much going on and not many prospects just because of the time and no jobs and nothing going on to a fairly good career here that I've enjoyed for the last 10 years.
And I see it's interesting because I see parallels now 10 years later to at the time that you got on, a different sort of economic crisis and a pandemic on top of it all at once. So you have a lot of high school seniors now that are uncertain. Right. Do they want to go to college right now and deal with remote learning and all the challenges with that, or someone that maybe started college and is rethinking their plan? And what's the job market even like if you get your college degree right now versus the unbelievable guarantees that you have with the Army? So why don't you touch on that a little bit?
Right. So yeah. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. There is a lot of parallels that I've noticed, just from the time that I joined to the times now. There wasn't much for job prospects then, and the Army offered a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what. I kind of joke with kids now that like the government has shut down a couple times. Like last year, I think it was last year in January, the government shut down, and luckily for me, and for every other person in the military, luckily, I got paid and I got a bonus and I got a raise all while the government was shut down. So I was still getting that automatic paycheck every 2 days. And I can't stress enough, how important and how comforting that is to know that no matter what, if I work an hour, if I work from home, if I have to work from home because of, the pandemic going on, or if I'm here and I have to work 50 or 60 hours a week, it's irrelevant to the amount that I'm going to get paid. And knowing that I'm going to get paid a good paycheck every 2 weeks is beyond comforting. To go along with all of that, our healthcare is completely paid for. That's an expense that not a lot of 17 or 18-year-old kids are gonna think about or even really care about it. But our healthcare is 100% free. We've had 2 guys in the office that both had their knees completely redone, didn't pay a dime out of pocket. I've had multiple fillings in my mouth. I had to get surgery on one of my teeth. Didn't pay a dime out of pocket. And like I said, it's something that a 17, 18-year-old kid's not necessarily going to think about, but in the long run, those medical bills stack up, and they stack up quick, whether or not, and if you don't have a job, or if you don't have a steady job with benefits like the military can offer, that's a lot of money out of pocket, and you're just going to keep racking up medical bills, and they just pile on top of each other over and over. So those are kind of like the little hidden benefits that people don't necessarily think about.
And on top of that, when we were talking offline, some of the unbelievable bonuses now that are available for joining the Army, you probably wouldn't have hemmed and hawed about your decision a whole heck of a lot 10 years ago if you had some of these incentives that kids can get nowadays.
No, so it was funny, I put a picture of it on my Instagram. I had a kid that I signed up, it was last year, I believe, but these bonuses are still available. The kid signed up for 6 years and had a $40,000 bonus. And I was, like we said offline, I was like, if my recruiter would have came to me with that, he could have stopped talking right then, because I would have been going wherever I needed to go to sign the papers. So it's just that you can't find, I think you even said it, you can't find a job right out of high school that's going to be offering you those kind of bonuses. And it sounds like a recruiter pitch, or it sounds like a line, but I mean, it's legitimate. You're not going to find another job that offers that kind of bonus up front.
What are you able to do to get out in front of kids now? Used to be back in the day, you could go to the schools and do presentations and things like that. I'm sure COVID has made that super challenging. So what is the best way for a potential recruit to get in touch with you?
So we have a lot of options and stuff that we're doing. All of us are on Facebook. I don't think you can find a recruiter in any military, Army, Air Force, Navy. We're all on Facebook. Most of us are all on Instagram. Every station is you're able to Google it. So like you can go online and you can just Google nearest Army station. And I know if you're in Monroe County, ours is going to pop up. You can go, we have career fairs coming up. I actually wrote down the dates. We've got career fairs coming up, really with COVID and everything like that. Career fairs, virtual career fairs. We've shot some commercials for schools to play like in their classes and stuff like that. We've worked with a radio station here in Monroe. We do interviews with them every once in a while. We have commercials that play on air. But yeah, the virtual career fairs are a big thing for us. I know we got a couple coming up. March 11th, we have Detroit College Day. And then February 23rd and 24th, we have a virtual career fair as well at Detroit Mercy. So it's just being innovative, finding any way you can to get in front of people.
So could people just maybe do a search for the Great Lakes Recruiting Battalion, U.S. Army Great Lakes Recruiting Battalion, and find all those dates and everything you're talking about?
They could do that. They could follow it. They could follow Great Lakes Recruiting Battalion or U.S. Army Michigan on Facebook, and they'll post all the dates. They'll post different career fairs. They'll post everything from enter to wins to different job options and stuff like that. We have a great virtual recruiting team up there at the battalion.
Now, in terms of recruiting, you've been in this 10 years. You've seen a lot of people come. You probably even seen some people come in that didn't fare well, and maybe the Army wasn't the best thing for them. And you've seen many people that have thrived with it. Right. So you probably have a pretty good idea of like what an ideal candidate now would be for the Army. What would you say is kind of the ideal person that should look at this?
So the ideal person is going to be, obviously healthy and doesn't necessarily need to be fit. That's a big misconception that I see a lot is like, oh, I can never do it. I can't run. I can't do this. I can't do push-ups. I can't. The Army is changing, and along with that, the way that we prepare our soldiers is changing. So back, 20, 30 years ago, everybody's seen the movie. Oh shoot, I can't think of it now off the top of my head. The Marine movie with I can't think of it. Anyway, everybody's seen that where it's, running through and you're living in these big giant bays and you're getting screamed at and yelled at every single day. And you're running and rucking and marching and all this other stuff. But the Army has learned that that's how you injure people. And that's how you turn people off from wanting to continue. What they're doing now is they're basically taking these kids from step zero and they're training them into a tiered system to be able to produce more long-term soldiers instead of people getting hurt and it costing the Army money. So you're looking for somebody who doesn't have to be in shape, can pass the test, can qualify morally and physically. No law violations in the background, no felony law violations, no nothing like that. Male, females, anybody that wants to and is morally and physically qualified.
And we've been talking a lot about high school and college age kids, but what age range of people have you seen in the Army?
So it actually changes quite a bit. Not lately, I guess, but when I went through basic training with a man who was 41 years old, and he made it through. Which I tell that to kids now, and I'm like, hey, look, if this man at 41 can make it through, you can make it through at 18. I promise. But now the age has actually come down a little bit. So now you have to be between 17 and 34. You can join the Army at 17 with your parents' permission. You have to be going into your senior year, but you can join the Army at 17. Your parents will sign a waiver saying that it's okay, and they'll give you the ability to process with us. And then as long as you're 35 by the time you're in basic training, you're good to go.
Okay. Tell me what the Army has done for you specifically. So just, a good message for other kids to hear as you look back now in 10 years and the course of where your life is now, where it could have maybe been going. What would you say?
The Army, I will, I fought it for a while, but the Army is the best thing that ever could have happened to me. It saved me from a lot of hard and bad times. So I will forever be grateful that my mom kind of ambushed me for the joke. She kind of ambushed me and brought the recruiter into my house. But at the time, 2008, 2009, there was nothing. I mean, you remember how it was back then. There was nothing in Michigan. There were no union jobs back then. There was nothing, and my prospects were very, very minimal at the time for what to do. I wasn't good at college, so I didn't have a college education. I had school loans and no way to pay them. I had no job opportunities. I was working and doing whatever I could do. So the Army took me out of there, and it's provided a life for me. I'm back in school. It's got me going to school again, and actually taking advantage of it and being thankful and using it the way I should. I make a good living now. I drive a brand new truck. I have stuff to go play with. I can go and do stuff that I want now. It's all prospects that I did not foresee myself having it in 2009, 2008. But yeah, I've traveled the world. I've been to 14 different countries. I've trained with armies from all over the world, from Mongolia to Germany to the Canadians to the Brits and the Scots. Like one of my best friends was a kid from the middle city of Dallas, Texas. Like I just, stuff that I never would have in a million years thought that I would be exposed to. I've been exposed to and couldn't be more grateful for it. So.
Fantastic, man. And it's not all serious all the time too. You're able to still live a life and have fun and do some fun things too, right?
Oh yeah. I get off of here at 5:00. I take my uniform off. I go home. I go to the gym. I get on. I go play video games. I read. I do all sorts of stuff. Like that's a big thing we try to explain to kids. We are not soldiers all the time.
Right.
We have this weekend. I was up north at the cabin, ice fishing, and like we are not soldiers 24/7. We get to have a personal life. We get to have our fun. I've got guys who are into dirt bikes, into snowmobiles. I've got my buddy just spent all weekend playing video. He's huge in video games. He live streams and Twitches or whatever. I'm not that big in video games. That's what he does. And he enjoys the heck out of it. And that's what he does, So I go up north. I go camping and hunting and fishing, and I love it.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. Just give me one story that you can recall over these 10 years. It could be either a funny story, serious story, but something that really sticks with you.
Oh, all right. I don't know why, but we were in the mountains in Afghanistan, and I don't know why this story's sticking out to me right now, but I was a gunner on one of our trucks. We were in the mountains driving through, and all of a sudden we see this big pond, right? We're driving through and it's on the road. We see this big pond out there, and I'm the gunner for the second truck. So there's one truck in front of me, and you see this thing hit. It doesn't look like a big pond or anything. We're in our huge MATVs and our Mac Pros and stuff like that. Our big Army vehicles. And this thing goes down and the wheels start to go, and then all of a sudden just sank down to like halfway up the doors. And all of a sudden I hear that I get this wretched smell. Well, we come to find out, we look to our left, and over here's this little pasture of cows. And then you start seeing all these pipes running into this water, and it was their sewage runoff. And I've never had a worse smell or worse day in my life than having to wash those trucks. But for some reason, it sticks out to me every single time.
Even growing up around all those farms,
even growing up, I've worked with cows, pigs. I've worked with chickens and ducks. I've done it all, man. Like, if you can name a farm animal, I've been around it, and never to this day have I was laughing because the first truck got it the worst. We went around it, but the first truck I was laughing so hard they could hear me over the radio. I'm pretty sure they could hear me in the other truck, but I couldn't get over it. It was so funny. Well,
definitely a funny story. And hey, I guess there's a lot worse things you could have driven over than that when you look back on it.
Very much.
So,
very much.
Hey, I'm sure there's plenty others you could share. Maybe we'll have you on again sometime. But
I would love it.
Most importantly, I want to know how people should they get in touch with you directly if they're interested in the Army, or
I would love it if everybody in the state got it.
All right. No, well, how do they get in touch with you then, directly?
So I'm stationed down here in Monroe County. We work out of Monroe. There's recruiting stations all over. Like I said earlier, the easiest way is either to search it on Google or search it on Facebook. We're everywhere. And like I said, if you follow Great Lakes Recruiting Battalion, or if you follow U.S. Army Michigan, it's everything that's going on with the virtual career fairs and all the programs that we have going on right now. But we're here in Monroe. There's one in Livonia. There's one in Dearborn. There's one in Westland. They're all over. So hopping on and searching, Army Recruiter, or getting onto Facebook and searching an Army Recruiter will be your best bet. And we deal with active duty and the U.S. Army Reserves. So it's kind of, part-time versus full-time, depending on what you want to do. But yeah, we're here to help, and there's people all over the state, and we're more than willing to get out there and do what we need to do. We can come to you. You can come to us. If you're not comfortable with that due to COVID, we can do exactly what we're doing right now. We can do Zoom calls and conduct interviews like that. If you're interested, find any way to contact a recruiter, and a recruiter will go above and beyond to try to help you out.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your inspirational story here today. Even if it impacts one person to join, this was well worth our time. And best of luck to you moving forward.
Thank you, sir. This is great. I loved it. I had a blast.
All right. Thanks, Sergeant Fultz.
Yes, sir. Take care.